Welcome to Executive Order Watch.
The immigrants have arrived.
I know. I have the package.
The approximately 418.1737111 acres depicted as parcel 16. The approximately 3.000853 acres depicted as parcel 17. The approximately 8.4533335 acres depicted as parcel 18. The approximately 0.75429117 acres depicted as parcel 19. The approximately 3.067519 acres depicted as parcel 20. The approximately 4.995197111 acres depicted as parcel 21. Well, the approximately 11.59612913 acres depicted as parcel 22. The approximately 15,197.32064 acres depicted as parcel 1623. 17. The term Secretary means 18. The Secretary of the Interior, acting through the DI 19 Rector of the Bureau of Land Management. 20. 672. Title IX Committee on Over One Site in Government Re-2 Form 3. CC 90,001, elimination of the FERS annuity supple form meant for certain employees. G. Section 8421 of Title V United States Code is amended 7. In paragraph, by inserting separated 8 from service under Section 8425, or entitled to an annuity under subsection, or of Section 8412, of 10 this title after individual, and 11. In paragraph, by inserting separated 12 from service under Section 8425, or entitled to an AN 13 annuity under subsection, or of Section 8412 of 14 this title after an individual. A. The amendments made by this 16 section shall begin to apply on January 1st, 2028, and shall 17 not apply with respect to any individual entitled to an AN 18 annuity supplement under Section 8421 of Title V, United 19 States Code prior to such date. 1 SEC 9 Zoo. High 5 average pay for calculating CSRS 21 and first pension. 22. CSRS. Section 8331 of Title V, United States 23 Code is amended to read as follows. 24. Average pay means 25. 673. Except as provided under subparagraph. The largest annual rate resulting from averaging an employee's or members' rates of basic pay in effect over any 3 consecutive years of creditable service, or in the case of an annuity under subsection or of Section 8341 of this title, based on service of less than 3 years over the total service, with each rate weighted by the time it was in effect, and with respect to an employee or member who retires on or after January 1st, 2028, other than an individual entitled to an annuity under subsection or of Section 8336. The largest annual rate resulting from averaging an employee's or members' rates of basic pay in effect over any 5 consecutive years of creditable service, or in the case of an annuity under subsection or of Section 8341 of this title based on service of less than 5 years over the total service, with each rate weighted by the time it was in effect. Section 8401 of Title V United States Code is amended to read as follows. 674. Except as provided under subparagraph, the largest annual rate resulting from averaging an employee's or members' rates of basic pay in effect over any 3 consecutive years of service, or In the case of an annuity under this chapter based on service of less than 3 years over the total service, with each rate weighted by the period it was in effect, and with respect to an employee or member who retires on or after January 1st, 2028, other than an individual entitled to an annuity under subsection or of Section 8412. The largest annual rate resulting from averaging the employees or members' rates of basic pay in effect over any 5 consecutive years of service, or in the case of an annuity under this chapter based on service of less than 5 years over the total service, with each rate weighted by the period it was in effect. CA, Section 302 of the Federal Employees Retirement System Act of 1986 is amended by striking paragraph and inserting the following. 675. Except as provided under clause. The largest annual rate resulting from averaging the individual's rates of basic pay in effect over any 3 consecutive years of creditable service, or in the case of an annuity based on service of less than 3 years over the total period of service so creditable, with each rate weighted by the period it was in effect, and with respect to an individual who retires on or after January 1st, 2028, other than an individual entitled to an annuity under subsection or of Section 8412 of Title V. United States Code, the largest annual rate resulting from averaging the individual's rates of basic pay in effect over any 5 consecutive years of creditable service, or in the case of an annuity based on service of less than 5 years over the total period of service so creditable, with each rate weighted by the period it was in effect. For purposes of subparagraph service. 676. Earned creditable for purposes of determining average 1 pay under Chapter 83 or 84 of Title V, United States 2 Code. Sec. 90,003. Election for at-will employment and 4 lower FERS contributions for new Fed 5-year-old civil service hires. I, subchapter I of Chap 33 of Title V United States Code, is amended by adding at the end the following. 3330G, election for at-will employment and lower FERS contributions. In general, not later than the last day of the probationary period for an individual initially appointed to a covered position after the date of the enactment of this section. Such individual may make an irrevocable election to be employed on an at-will basis, subject to the requirements of this section. Failure to make election. An individual who does not make the election under paragraph shall be subject to the requirements of Section 8422. 677. A. Notwithstanding 1 Chapter 43 or 75 of this title, any individual who makes 2 an affirmative election under subsection shall 3 be considered an at-will employee, and 4 may be subject to an adverse action up to 5 and including removal without notice or right to ep 6 appeal by the head of the agency at which the Indy 7 individual is employed for good cause, bad cause, or number 8 cause at all. Application of notwithstanding any other requirement of this section. This section 11 shall not be construed to reduce, extinguish, or otherwise 12 affect any right or remedy available to any individual who 13 elects to be an at-will employee under subsection 14 under any of the following provisions of law. 15. The protections relating to prohibited per 16 sonal practices. 18. The Congressional Accountability Act of 1995. In the case of employees of the Legislative 20 branch who are subject to this section. 21. CP in this section, the term 22 covered position 23 means 24. 678. Any position in the competitive Serv 1 ICE 2. A career appointee position in the 3 senior executive service. 4. A position in the accepted service, and 5. Does not include 6. Any position accepted from the COM7 Competitive Service because of its confidential, Pol-8 IC determining, policy making, or policy advocating character. 10. Any position excluded from the Cove 11 Araj of Section 2302 of such section, or Chapter 75, 13, or 14. Any position subject to mandatory 15 separation under Section 8335 or 8425. Clerical amendment. The table of SECA 17tions for such subchapter is amended by adding 18 after the item relating to Section 3330F, the full 19 lowing, 203330G, election for at-will employment and lower FERS contributions. Increase in FERS, see Section 218422 of Title V, United States Code, is amended by add 22ing at the end the following, 23. The applicable percentage under this 24 paragraph for civilian service by any individual 25. 679. Who elects not to be employed on an at-will one basis under Section 3330G shall be equal to the 2% required under subparagraph 3 increased by 5 percentage points. This section and the amendments 5 made by this section shall apply to individuals initially APE 6 appointed to positions in the civil service subject to such section and amendments appointed on or after the date of the enactment of this Act. SCC 9004. Filing fee for Merit Systems Protection 10 Board claims and appeals. 11. IG Section 7701 of Title V United 12 States Code is amended 13. In redesignating subsection as sub-14 section and 15. By inserting after subsection the full 16 lowing, 17. The board shall establish and collect a filing 18 fee to be paid by any employee, former employee, or apply 19 can't for employment filing a claim or appeal with the 20 board under this title or under any other law, rule, or 21 regulation consistent with the requirements of this sub-22 section. 23. The filing fee under paragraph shall 24. 680. Be in an amount equal to the filing fee for a civil action or proceeding under section 21914 of Title 28, 3. Be paid on the date the individual submits for a claim or appeal to the board, and 5. If the individual is the prevailing party 6 under such claim or appeal, be returned to such and 7 individual. The filing fee under this subsection shall not be 9 required for any 10. Action brought by the Special Counsel 11 under Section 1214, 1215, or 1216, or 12. Any claim or appeal of a prohibited per 13 sonal practice described in Section 2302 or 142302, or in Section 151221. 60. On the date that a claim or appeal with respect 17 to which the individual is not the prevailing party has not 18 been appealed and is no longer appealable because the 19 time for taking an appeal has expired, or which has been 20 appealed under Section 7703 and the appeals process for 21 which is completed. The fee collected under paragraph 22 shall, except as provided in paragraph, be deposited 23 into the miscellaneous receipts of the Treasury. 24. 681. A. The fee required under the one amendment made by subsection shall apply to any 2 claim or appeal filed with the Merit Systems Protection 3 Board after the date, that is 3 months after the date of the enactment of this section. SCC 90,005 PHP Protection. In this subsection, the term director means the director of the Office of Personnel Management. The term employing office has the meaning given the term in Section 890.101 of Title V, Code of Federal Regulations, or any successor regulation. Health Benefits Plan. The terms health benefits plan, member of family have the meanings given those terms in Section 8901 of Title V United States Code. Inspector General. The term Inspector General means the Inspector General of the Office of Personnel Management. The term open season means an open season described in Section 682, 890.301 of Title V, Code of Federal Regulations, or any successor regulation. P. The term program means the health insurance programs carried out under Chapter 89 of Title 5, United States Code, including the program carried out under Section 8903C of that title. Q. Qualifying life event. The term qualifying life event has the meaning given the term in Section 892.101 of Title 5, Code of Federal Regulations, or any successor regulation. Verification requirements. I. In general, not later than 1 year after the date of the enactment of this Act, the Director shall issue regulations and implement a process to verify the veracity of any qualifying life event through which an enrollee in the program seeks to add a member of family with respect to the enrollee to a health benefits plan under the program. That, when an enrollee in the program seeks to add a member of family with respect to the enrollee to the health. 683. Benefits plan of the enrollee under the program, including during any open season. The individual so added is a qualifying member of family with respect to the enrollee. RA cord retention. The process implemented under subparagraph shall require the records used for a verification described in such subparagraph under such process with respect to an individual enrolled in a health benefits plan under the program to be provided to the Office of Personnel Management and retained by the Office of Personnel Management until the expiration of a 6-year period beginning after the date of such verification in which such individual is not enrolled in a health benefits plan under the program. F. Fraud risk assessment. In any fraud risk assessment conducted with respect to the program on or after the date of the enactment of this Act, the Director shall include an assessment of individuals who are enrolled in or covered under a health benefits plan under the program even though 684. Those individuals are not eligible to be so enrolled or covered. F. Family member eligibility. Verification audit. I. In general. During the 5-year period beginning 1 year after the date of the enactment of this Act, the Director shall conduct a comprehensive audit regarding members of family who are covered under an enrollment in a health benefits plan under the program. C. In conducting an audit required by subparagraph, the Director shall review marriage certificates, birth certificates, and other appropriate documents that are necessary to determine eligibility to enroll in a health benefits plan under the program. R. All records pertaining to the eligibility of an individual to be enrolled in or covered under a health benefits plan under the program obtained by the Director in the audit required by subparagraph shall be retained by the Office of Personnel Management until the expiration of a 6-year period beginning after the date of such audit in which such individual is not enrolled in. 685. Aired under a health benefits plan under the program. R. Referral to Inspector Gen. The Director shall refer any instances of individuals enrolled in or covered under a health benefits plan under the program who are not eligible to be so enrolled or covered that are identified in the audit required by subparagraph. To the Inspector General. Disenrollment or removal. General, not later than 6 months after the date of the enactment of this Act, the Director shall develop a process by which any individual enrolled in or covered under a health benefits plan under the program who is not eligible to be so enrolled or covered shall be disenrolled or removed from enrollment in a health benefits plan under the program. Notify Inspector General. The Director shall notify the Inspector General of each individual disenrolled or removed from enrollment in a health benefits plan under the program under the process developed under subparagraph 686. EBAJAOF 3. I. In general, Section 8909 of Title 5 United States Code is amended by striking Congress and inserting Congress, except that the amounts authorized under subsection for the office shall not be subject to the limitations that may be specified annually by Congress. Section 8909 of Title 5 United States Code is amended by redesignating paragraph as paragraph, by inserting after paragraph the following. In addition to the funds provided under paragraph, amounts of all contributions shall be available for the office to develop, maintain, and conduct ongoing eligibility verification and oversight over the enrollment and eligibility systems with respect to benefits under this chapter, including the Postal Service Health Benefits Program under Section 8903C. Amounts for the office under this paragraph shall not be available in excess of the following amounts in the following fiscal years. 687. In fiscal year 2026, $36,792,000. In fiscal year 2027, $44,733,161. In fiscal year 2028, $50,930,778. In fiscal year 2029, $54,198,238. In fiscal year 2030, $54,855,425. In fiscal year 2031, $56,062,244. In fiscal year 2032, $57,295,613. In fiscal year 2033, $58,556,117. In fiscal year 2034, $59,844,351. In fiscal year 2035 and each fiscal year thereafter, the amount equal to the dollar limit for the immediately preceding fiscal year increased by 2.2%. In fiscal year 2026, $80 million to be derived from all contributions and to remain available until expended shall be available for the office to conduct the audit required under Section 9005 of the Act, titled an Act to Provide for Reconciliation pursuant to Title II of HCON Res 14. Amounts of all contributions shall be available for the Office of Personnel Management Office of the Inspector General to conduct oversight associated with activities under this chapter, including the Postal Service Health Benefits Program under Section 688, Section 8903C, including activities associated with enrollment and eligibility in these programs and any associated audit activities as required under Section 900.05 of the Act, titled an Act to Provide for Reconciliation pursuant to Title II of HCON. Res 14. Amounts for the Office of the Inspector General under this paragraph shall not be available in excess of the following amounts in the following fiscal years. In fiscal year 2026, $5,090,278. In fiscal year 2027 and each fiscal year thereafter, the amount equal to the dollar limit for the immediately preceding fiscal year increased by 2.2%. Title X, Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. SCC 100,001. Coast Guard assets necessary to secure the maritime border and interdict migrants and drugs. IG for the purpose of the acquisition, sustainment, improvement, and operation of United States Coast Guard assets, in addition to amounts otherwise made available. There is appropriated to the Commandant of the Coast Guard for fiscal year 2025 out of 689. Any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated to remain available until September 30th, 2029, $571,500,000 for fixed-wing aircraft and spare parts, training simulators, support equipment, and program management for such aircraft. $1,283,000,000 for rotary wing aircraft and spare parts, training simulators, support equipment, and program management for such aircraft. $140 million for long-range unmanned aircraft systems and base stations, support equipment, and program management for such systems. $4,300,000,000 for offshore patrol cutters and spare parts and program management for such cutters. $1 billion for fast response cutters and spare parts and program management for such cutters. $4,300,000,000 for polar security cutters and spare parts and program management for such cutters. $4,978,000,000 for Arctic security cutters and domestic icebreakers, and spare parts and program management for such cutters and icebreakers. 690. $3,154,500,000 for design, planning, engineering, construction of, and program management for shoreside infrastructure, of which $400 million is provided for hangars and maintenance and crew facilities for the fixed-wing aircraft, for which funds are appropriated under paragraph, and rotary-wing aircraft, for which funds are appropriated under paragraph. $2,329,500,000 is provided for home ports for the cutters, for which funds are appropriated under paragraphs, and national security cutters and other fast response cutters. $425 million is provided for design, planning, engineering, construction of, and program management for enlisted boot camp barracks, multi-use training centers, and other related facilities. $1,300,000,000 for aviation, cutter, shoreside facility depot maintenance, and C5I service maintenance, of which $500 million is provided to acquire, procure, or construct a floating dry dock under subsection and conduct channel dredging necessary to allow cutters for which funds are applied. 691. Appropriated under paragraph and national security cutters to be maintained and repaired in such dry dock. $180 million for equipment and services for maritime domain awareness, of which $75 million is provided to contract the services of, acquire, or procure autonomous maritime systems. I accept as provided in paragraph the Commandant may not acquire, procure, or construct a floating dry dock for the Coast Guard yard with amounts appropriated under subsection. Permissible acquisition or construction methods. Notwithstanding paragraph this subsection and section 1105 of Title 14 United States Code, the Commandant may, through September 30th, 2030, provide for an entity other than the Coast Guard to contract for the acquisition, procurement, or construction of a floating dry dock by contract, purchase, or other agreement. Construct a floating dry dock at the Coast Guard yard. 692. Acquire or procure a commercially available floating dry dock. F. Floating dry dock defined. In this 3 section, the term floating dry dock means equipped for men, that is 5. Documented under Chapter 121 of Title 646 United States Code and 7. Capable of meeting the lifting and maintenance requirements of an offshore PA-9 troll cutter or a national security cutter. L. Not more than 15% of the 11 amounts provided in paragraph of subsection shall 12 be available for design, planning, and engineering of the 13 facilities described in such paragraph. 14. A. In carrying out acquisitions or 15 procurements for which funds are appropriated under sub-16 sections 1131, 1132, and 1133 of Title 1417 United States Code shall not apply. 18. EOTCG not 19 withstanding section 1105 of Title 14. United States 20 Code in carrying out acquisition, procurement, or Con 21 construction of Arctic security cutters or domestic ice 22 breakers for which funds are appropriated under sub 23 section. The Commandant may provide for an entity 24. 693. Other than the Coast Guard to contract for such acquisition, procurement, or construction. CWAR none of the amounts provided in this section may be obligated or expended during any fiscal year in which the Commandant is not compliant with sections 5102 and 5103 of Title 14 United States Code. Paragraphs and of subsection may be obligated or expended until the Commandant provides the report required under Section 11217 of the James M. Inhofe National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023. To the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure of the House of Representatives and the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation of the Senate. NR. The COM 19 mandant shall notify the Committee on Transportation 20 and Infrastructure of the House of Representatives, and 21 the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation 22 of the Senate, not less than 1 week prior to taking any 23 procurement actions impacting estimated costs, or 24. 694. Timelines for acquisitions or procurements funded with one amounts appropriated under this section. EP, not later than 90 days 3 after the date of enactment of this act. The Commandant 4 shall submit to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure of the House of Representatives and the COM 6 Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation of the 7th Senate a detailed expenditure plan, including projected 8 project timelines for each acquisition and procurement 9 funded under this section, and a list of project locations 10 to be funded under paragraphs and of subsection 11. 12. E. If the President authorizes an X-13 exception under Section 1151 of Title 14, United States 14 Code, for any Coast Guard vessel, or the hull or Super 15 structure of such vessel, for which funds are appropriated 16 under paragraphs through of subsection Number 17, such funds shall be obligated until the President submits 18 to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure 19 of the House of Representatives and the Committee on 20 Commerce, Science, and Transportation of the Senate a 21 written explanation of the circumstances requiring such 22 an exception in the national security interest, including 23. 695. A confirmation that there are insufficient qualified United States shipyards to meet the national security interest without such exception. And 3. Actions taken by the President to enable 4 qualified United States shipyards to meet National 5 security requirements prior to the issuance of such 6 an exception. EC 100,002. Vessel tonnage duties. Section 60301 of Title 46 United States Code is amended in subsection by striking for fiscal years 2006 through 2010 and 2 cents per ton, not to exceed a total of 10 cents per ton per year for each fiscal year thereafter. In subsection by striking for fiscal years 2006 through 2010 and 6 cents per ton, not to exceed a total of 30 cents per ton per year for each fiscal year thereafter. SEC 100,003. Registration fee on motor vehicles. 19. G. Chapter 1 of Title 23 United States Code is amended by adding at the end the following. 180. Registration fee on motor vehicles. 23. IG, the administrator of the Fed 24 Aero Highway Administration, shall impose for each year 25. 696. The following registration fee amounts on the owner of a one vehicle registered for operation by a state motor vehicle 2 department. 3. $250 for a covered electric vehicle. $100 for a covered hybrid vehicle. I. Withholding of sex. The administrator shall withhold from amount 7 required to be apportioned to any state under Section 8104. An amount equal to 125% to the amount 9 required to be re-remitted under subsection. The Ad 10 administrator shall withhold the amount on the first day of 11 each fiscal year beginning after December 30th, 2026, in 12 which the state does not meet the requirements of sub 13 section. 14. C. A state motor V16 Hickle Department shall 17. Incorporate the collection of the fees 18 established under subsection into the Vehicle 19 registration and renewal processes administered 20 by such department. So long as such fees are 21 imposed for each year in which the fees are re-22 acquired, or 23. Obtain approval from the Adminis 24 trader to establish an alternate means of COM 25. 697. Compliance for the collection of such fees that is at once acceptable to the administrator. Remittance of fee. Not later than 33 days after the last day of each month. A state motor vehicle department shall remit to the administrator 5, the balance of the total fee amounts collected under 6 this section in the preceding month less the portion 7 reserved for administrative expenses under sub 8 section. FA. The amount specified in 10 subsection shall be increased on an annual basis to 11 account for the rate of inflation each fiscal year in accord 12 ants with the Consumer Price Index for all UrbanCon 13 consumers of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. AE in any fiscal 15 year in which a state is in compliance with this section. 16 such state may retain an amount not to exceed 1% 17 of the total fees collected under this section for 18 trade of expenses. 19. Applicability of F. The fees imposed 20 under paragraphs and of subsection shall turn 21 minute on October 1st, 2035. 22. B in this section 23. Covered electric vehicle. The term 24 covered electric vehicle means a covered motor VI 25. 698. With an electric motor as the sole means of propulsion of such vehicle. Covered motor vehicle. The term covered motor vehicle has the meaning given in the term motor vehicle under section 154, but excludes a motor vehicle that is a covered farm vehicle or commercial motor vehicle. Covered hybrid vehicle. The term covered hybrid vehicle means a covered motor vehicle propelled by a combination of an electric motor and an internal combustion engine or other power source, and components thereof. Implementation of CP. The administrator of the Federal Highway Administration shall provide grants to state motor vehicle departments to implement a process to carry out Section 180 of Title 23 United States Code. Out of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated, $104 million is to remain available until September 30th, 2029, beginning in the first fiscal year following the date of enactment of this Act, for grants under paragraph 699. Each state motor V1 vehicle department may receive not more than $2 million under this subsection. 3. The administrator shall issue 4 such regulations and guidance as are necessary to 5. Carry out Section 180 of Title 23, United States Code, and 7. Establish a process for the timely and accurate rate remittance of fees collected under such section through an electronic method. Not later than 2 years after the date 11 of enactment of this Act, the administrator shall submit 12 to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, 13 of the House of Representatives, and the Committee on 14, Environment and Public Works of the Senate a report on 15, the status of the implementation of Section 180 of Title 1623, United States Code. CA, the analysis for Chap 18-1 of Title 23, United States Code, is amended by add 19 at the end the following 2180. Registration fee on motor vehicles. SEC 1004. Deposit of registration fee on motor 2122. Any amounts accrued pursuant to Section 180 of Title 23. 23. United States Code shall be 24 deposited into the Highway Trust Fund. 25. 700 C1005 Marrier Data. PCM2C, there is appropriated $5,000,000 to the Ad 3 Administrator of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to establish a public website to present data on 5 motor carriers, as such term is defined in Section 131026 of Title 49. United States Code in a manner that indicates 7 whether each motor carrier meets or does not meet all Ad 8 administration operating requirements, including by Dis 9 playing one of the following statements for each motor car 10 rear, 11. This motor carrier meets Federal Motor 12 Carrier Safety Administration operating require 13 minutes and is authorized to operate on the nation's 14 roadways. This motor carrier does not meet Federal 16 Motor Carrier Safety Administration operating RE17 requirements and is not authorized to operate on the 18 nation's roadways. 19. The administrator shall assess a 20 annual fee of $100 on each person seeking access to the 21 website established under subsection. In each fiscal 22 year through fiscal year 2033, monies collected under this 23 subsection shall be 24. Credited to the account in the Treasury 25, from which the administrator incurs expenses for 26. 701. Establishing, maintaining, and updating the website one required to be established under subsection. And 2. Available for establishing, maintaining, and 3. Updating such website without further appropriation. D. A broker freight forwarder. 5. Or household goods freight forwarder. As such terms are 6 defined in Section 13102 of Title 49, United States Code. 7. That uses the website established under subsection to 8. Ensure that a motor carrier engaged by such broker. 9. Freight forwarder or household goods freight forwarder. 10. Meets Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration OPR 11 requirements shall be considered to have taken RIA 12 sonable and prudent determinations in engaging such 13 motor carrier. SEC 1006 IRA rescissions. 15. FF 17. The unobligated balances of amounts made available to 18 carry out Section 4007 of Public Law 117. 169 are permanently rescinded. 21. RFA 2 says, the unobligated 23 balances of amounts made available to carry out Section 24. 177 of Title 23, United States Code, as in effect on the 25. 702. Day before the date of enactment of this Act, are PERMA 1 netly rescinded. RFB 3A. The unobligated balances of amounts made for available to carry out Section 6552 of Public Law 117. 169 are permanently rescinded. FULA. The 9 unobligated balances of amounts made available to carry 10 out Section 660503 of Public Law 117. 169 are permanently rescinded. 13. The UN 15 obligated balances of amounts made available to carry out 16 Section 60504 of Public Law 117. 169.17 are permanently rescinded. 19. Repeal of Impl 20F. The unobligated balances of 21 amounts made available to carry out Section 178 of Title 22-23 United States Code are permanently re-24 rescinded. 25. 703. State. The unobligated BAL 2 answers of amounts made available to carry out Section 179.3 of Title 23 United States Code are permanently 5 rescinded. SEC 1007. Air Traffic Control Staffing and Mod 7AG. For the purpose of the acquisition, construction, sustainment, improvement, and opertation of facilities and equipment necessary to improve or 11 maintain aviation safety, and for personnel expenses re-12 related to such facilities and equipment, in addition to 13 amounts otherwise made available. There is appropriated 14 to the Administrator of the Federal Aviation Administra 15 Shin for fiscal year 2025, out of any money in the Treasury 16 not otherwise appropriated, to remain available until September 17, September 30, 2029, 18. $2,160,000,000 for air traffic control tower and terminal radar approach control facility replacement, of which not less than $240 million shall be available for contract tower program air traffic control tower replacement and airport sponsor own air traffic control tower replacement. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 704. $3 billion for radar systems replacement. $4,750,000,000 for telecommunications infrastructure and systems replacement. $500 million for runway safety projects airport surface surveillance projects, and to carry out Section 347 of the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024. $550 million for unstaffed infrastructure sustainment and replacement. $300 million to carry out Section 619 of the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024. $260 million to carry out Section 44745 of Title 49 United States Code, and $1 billion for air traffic controller recruitment, retention, training, and advanced training technologies. Not later than 180 days after the date of enactment of this Act. 90 days thereafter, the Administrator shall submit to Congress a report that describes any expenditures under this section. 705. SEC 100,008. John F. Kennedy Center for the Per 12 IG. In addition to amounts otherwise available. There is appropriated for fiscal year 2025. Out 4 of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated. $5,256,657,000 to remain available until September 30th. 2029, for necessary expenses for capital repair, restore a 7-chin, maintenance backlog, and security structures of the 8 building and site of the John F. Kennedy Center for the 9 Performing Arts. AC of the amounts made 11 available under subsection. Not more than 3% May 12th be used for administrative costs necessary to carry 13 out this section. 14. Title XI Committee on Ways 15 and Means the 1 Big 16 Beautiful Bill 17. SEC 110,000. References to the Internal Revenue 18 Code of 1986 6C. 19R, except as otherwise expressly 20 provided. Whenever in this title, an amendment or repeal 21 is expressed in terms of an amendment to, or repeal of, 22 a section or other provision. The reference shall be considered 23 aired to be made to a section or other provision of the N 24 Internal Revenue Code of 1986. 25. 706. Section 15 of the Internal 2 Revenue Code of 1986 shall not apply to any change in 3 rate of tax by reason of any provision of, or amendment for made by this title. 5. Subtitle A, Make American 6 Families and Workers Thrive Again 7 Part 1, Permanently Preventing Tax Hikes 8 on American Families and Workers 9 Sec. 11001, Extension of Modification of Rates. IG Section 1 is amended 11. In paragraph by striking, and before January 12th, 1st, 2026 and 13. By striking 2018 T 2025 in the 14 heading and inserting B 8017. 15. IA, Section 116 is amended by inserting in the case of any taxable year 17 beginning after December 31st, 2025, solely for purposes 18 of determining the dollar amounts at which the 35% 19 rate bracket ends and the 37% rate bracket begins 20 before subsection 20. DD, the amendments made by 22 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 23rd, 31, 2025. 24. 707. SEC 110,002. Extension of increased standard day yacht, one-chin and temporary enhancement. IG Section 63 is amended 3. By striking, and before January 1st, 2026 4 in the matter preceding subgraph, and 5. By striking 2018 T 2025 in the 6th heading and inserting BA 2017. TAIS 8D, Section 63 is amended by adding 9 at the end the following new subparagraph 10. Temporary additional increase 11 in standard deduction. In the case of any 12 taxable year beginning after December 31st, 13, 2024, and before January 1st, 2029, 14. The dollar amount otherwise in F15 fact under paragraph shall be in 16 increased by $1,500, and 17, the dollar amount otherwise in 18 effect under paragraph shall be 19 increased by $1,000. Recalculation A. 21 Section 63 is amended by striking D22, determined by substituting 2017 for 2016 in subpara 23 graph thereof. 24. D 708. IN General. The amendments made by one subsection shall apply to taxable years beginning 2 after December 31st, 2025. Temporary additional increase in 4 standard deduction. The amendment made by 5 subsections shall apply to taxable years beginning 6 after December 31st, 2024. 7 SEC 100. Termination of deduction for personal 8-9. Section 151 is amended by striking and before January 1st, 2026, 11 and 12. By striking 2018 T 2025 in the 13 heading and inserting BA 2017. 14. ED. The amendments made by 15 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 16th, 31, 2025. SEC 11004. Extension of increased child tax credit 18 and temporary enhancement. 19. Extension of ECTC. Section 24 is amended 21. In paragraph, by striking, and before January 22nd, 1st, 2026 and 23. By striking 2018 T 2025 in the 24 heading and inserting BA 2017. 25. 709. I increases C. Section 124 is amended to read as follows: 2. C subsection shall be 3 applied by substituting 4. In the case of taxable years beginning 5 after December 31st, 2024, and before December 6th, 31, 2028, $2,500 for $1,000 or 7. In the case of any subsequent taxable 8-year, $2,000 for $1,000. SNR Section 1024 is amended to read as follows: 11. Social Security number required. 12. I know credit shall be L13 loaded this section to a taxpayer with Re-14 spect any qualifying child, unless the taxpayer 15 includes on the return of tax for the taxable 16 year 17. Such individual Social Security 18 number, 19 the Social Security number of 20 such qualifying child, and 21 if the individual is married, the 22 Social Security number of such individual's 23 spouse. 24. 710. Social Security number. For one purposes of this paragraph, the term Social Security number means a Social Security number 3 issued to an individual by the Social Security for administration, but only if the Social Security 5 number is issued. 6. To a citizen of the United States, 7, or pursuant to subclause that relates to sub 99 clause of Section 205 the 10 Social Security Act, and 11 before the due date for such Re-12 turn. 3. Married individuals. Rules semi-14 lar to the rules of Section 32 shall apply to 15 this section. IA 17. I Section 24 is amended to 18 read as follows: 19. IA. Maximum amount of refundable 21. In the case of a taxable year beginning 22 after 2024, the $1,400 amount in subsection 23 shall be increased by an amount equal to 24. Such dollar amount multiplied by 25. 711. The cost of living adjustment determined under Section 1 for the calendar year in which the taxable year begins, determined by substituting 2017 for 2016 in subparagraph thereof. Special rule for adjustment of. In the case of a taxable year beginning after 2028, the $2,000 amount in subsection shall be increased by an amount equal to such dollar amount multiplied by the cost of living adjustment determined under Section 1 for the calendar year in which the taxable year begins, determined by substituting 2024 for 2016 in subparagraph thereof. Round rounding. If any increase under this subsection is not a multiple of $100, such increase shall be rounded to the next lowest multiple of $100. CA Section 24 is amended to read as follows. Maximum amount of refundable. The amount determined under subsection with respect to any qualifying child shall 712 not exceed $1,400, and such subsection shall be upon applied without regard to paragraph of this sub 2 section. Treatment of CB benefits of M members of R religious and A associations as 5EI. Section 24 is amended by add 6ing at the end the following. For purposes of subpara 7 graph, any amount treated as a dividend received 8 under the last sentence of section 501 shall be treated 9 as earned income which is taken into account in 10 imputing taxable income for the taxable year. ED. The amendments made by 12 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 13th, 31, 2024. SCSC Euro 5. Extension of deduction for qualified 15 business income and permanent 1617. MP Section 199A is amended 18 by striking subsection 19. I increase in subsections 20 and of section 199A are each amend 20 by striking 20% and inserting 23%. 22. Drake. 24. 713. IN General. Section 199A is one amended to read as follows. 2. Modification of determination of 3 combined qualified business income amount 4 based on taxable income. The exception from limitations. In 6, the case of any taxpayer whose taxable income 7 for the taxable year does not exceed the threshold amount 9. Paragraph shall be applied 10 without regard to subparagraph, and 11 a specified service trade or BUSI 12-ness shall not fail to be treated as a quali 13 fied trade or business solely by reason of 14 subsection 15. Period of limitations. In the 16 case of any taxpayer whose taxable income for 17 the taxable year exceeds the threshold amount 18, the sum described in paragraph 20 shall instead be an amount equal to 21 the excess of 22. The sum described in paragraph 23. Determined by applying the rules of 24. 714. Clauses and of subparagraph 1/2 the limitation phase-in amount. 3. L. Imitation phase-in amount. 4. For purposes of subparagraph, the limit of 5 phase-in amount shall be an amount equal 6 to 75% of the excess of 7. The taxable income of the tax 8 payer for the taxable year over 9 the threshold amount. See on forming amendment. Section 11199A is amended by striking paragraph 12. C. 15. IN General, subsection 16 of section 199A are each amended by insert 17ing qualified BDC interest dividends after 18 qualified REIT dividends. 2 qualified BDC interest dividend to 20. Section 199A is amended by adding at 21 the end the following new paragraph 22. Qualified BDC interest dividend. 23. To return the qualified 24 BDC interest dividend means any dividend 25. 715. From an electing business development company received during the taxable year, which is attributable to net interest income of such company, which is properly allocable to a qualified trade or business of such company. Electing business development. For purposes of this paragraph, the term electing business development company means a business development company of the Investment Company Act of 1940, which has an election in effect under Section 851 to be treated as a regulated investment company. MIA Section 199A is amended by striking 2018 and inserting 2025, and in clause by striking determined by substituting calendar year 2017 for calendar year 2016 in subparagraph thereof. ED. The amendments made by this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 31st, 2025. 716. SEC 110,006. Extension of increased estate and gift 1 tax exemption amounts and permanent 2-3. IG Section 2010 is amended 4. In subparagraph by striking $5 million and inserting $15 million. 6. In subparagraph 7. The matter preceding clause by 8 striking 2011 and inserting 2026 and 9. In clause by striking calendar 10 year 2010 and inserting calendar year 11 2025 and 12. By striking subparagraph 13. ED. The amendments made by 14 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 15th, 31, 2025. 60 C1007. Extension of increased alternative min 17 IMUM tax exemption and phase out 1819. G. Section 55 is amended 20. In subparagraph by striking and B21 for January 1st, 2026 and 22. By striking B2026 in the 23 heading. 717. E. The amendments made by 1 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 2nd, 31, 2025. SC 11008. Extension of limitation on deduction 4 for qualified residence interest. IG Section 163 is amended 6 at 7. In clause by striking and before January 8th, 1, 2026, 9. By striking clause and redesignating 10 clauses and as clauses in respect 11 Tively and 12. By striking 2018 T2025 in the 13 heading and inserting BA 2017. ED. The amendments made by 15 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 16th, 31, 2025. 17 SEC 1009. Extension of limitation on casualty 18 loss deduction. 19. In G Section 165 is amended 20. In subparagraph by striking B21 for January 1st, 2026 and 22. By striking 2018 T2025 in the 23 heading and inserting BA 2017. 24. 718. ED. The amendments made by 1 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 2nd, 31, 2025. SC 1 would. Termination of miscellaneous itemized 4-5. IG Section 667 is amended 6. By striking and before January 1st, 2026, 7 and 8. By striking 2018 T2025 in the 9 heading and inserting BA 2017. ED. The amendments made by 11 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 12th, 31, 2025. 13A101. Limitation on tax benefit itemized 1415. IG Section 68 is amended to read as 16 follows 17 SEC. 68. Limitation on tax benefit of itemized 1819. IG in the case of an individual. The 20 amount of the itemized deductions otherwise allowable for 21 the taxable year shall be reduced by 2/37 of the lesser of 23. Such amount of itemized deductions are 24. 719. So much of the taxable income of the tax one payer for the taxable year as exceeds the dollar amount for at which the 37% rate bracket under Section 5. 1 begins with respect to the taxpayer. CWO 7. This section shall be applied after the application of any 8 other limitation on the allowance of any itemized deduction. ED. The amendment made by 11 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 12th, 31, 2025. 3 C. Lunge Medu. Termination of qualified bicycle com. 14 muting reimbursement exclusion. IG Section 132 is amended by 16 striking and before January 1st, 2026. 17. ED. The amendment made by 18 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 19, 31, 2025. 20 SCC 11013. Extension of limitation on exclusion 21 and deduction for moving expenses. 22. TD Section 21723 is amended 24. 720. By striking and before January 1st, 2026, 1-2. By striking 2818 T 2025 in the 3 heading and inserting BA 2017. Termination of R. Section 5132 is amended 6. By striking and before January 1st, 2026, 7 and 8. By striking 2018 T 2025 in the 9 heading and inserting BA 2017. ED. The amendments made by 11 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 12, 31, 2025. 13 SEC 104. Extension of limitation on wagering 1415. IG Section 165 is amended by 16 striking and before January 1st, 2026. 17. D. The amendment made by 18 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 19, 31, 2025. 20 SA 015. Extension of increased limitation on 21 contributions to ABLE accounts and 22 permanent enhancement. Section 529A is amend 24 ed 25. 721. Clause by inserting thereof after section 2503 and clause by striking before January 1st, 2026. IN general except as otherwise provided in this subsection. The amendments made by this section shall apply to contributions made after December 31st, 2025. SCC 110,016. Extension of savers credit allowed for ABLE contributions. IG Section 25B is amended to read as follows. The term qualified retirement savings contributions means with respect to any taxable year the sum of modified inflation adjustment. The amendment made by subsection shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 31st, 2025. The amount of contributions made by the eligible individual during such taxable year to the ABLE account of which such individual is the designated beneficiary. And 722. In the case of any taxable year begin winding before January 1st, 2027 2. The amount of the qualified retire 3 MET contributions made by the eligible individual, 5 the amount of 6. Any elective deferrals of such an individual. And 9 any elective deferral of COM 10 compensation by such individual under an 11 eligible deferred compensation plan 12 of an 13 eligible employer, described in section 14457. And 15 the amount of voluntary 16 employee contributions by such individual to 17 any qualified retirement plan. W Secure .0 ACT 2022A. Paragraph of Section 103 of 21, the Secure 2.0 Act of 2022 is repealed, and the Inter 22 Now Revenue Code of 1986 shall be applied, and admins 23 as though such paragraph were never enacted. 24. 723. ED. The amendments made by 1 this section shall apply to taxable years ending after December 31, 2025. 3 SECs and we. Extension of rollovers from qualified for tuition programs to ABLE accounts 5-6. IG. Section 529 is 7 amended by striking before January 1st, 2026. ED. The amendment made by 9 this section shall apply to taxable years beginning after December 10th, 31, 2025. 11 SC 11018. Extension of treatment of certain Indy 12 visuals performing services in the 13 Sinai Peninsula, and enhancement to, in 14 include additional areas. TMP, Sec 161026 of Public Law 115, 97 is amended by striking 17 with respect to the applicable period. 18. And see, I included as Section 211226 of Public Law 115, 97 is amended to read as 21 follows 22. QHDA, for 23 purposes of this section, the term qualified hazardous 24 duty area means 25. 724. The Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, if as of December 22, 2017, any member of the Armed Forces of the United States is entitled to special pay under Section 310 of Title 37, United States Code, for services performed in such location, and 134567. Kenya, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad if 8 as of the date of the enactment of this paragraph. 9. Any member of the Armed Forces of the United States is entitled to special pay under such section. 11 for services performed in such location. Such term includes any such location only during the P-teen riot. Such entitlement is in effect with respect to such loca 14 Chien. CA Section 1126 of 16 Public Law 115, 97 is amended by striking subsection 17. 18. ED. The amendments made by 19 this section shall take effect on January 1st, 2026. 20 SEC 1019. Extension of exclusion from gross in 21 come of student loans discharged on 22 account of death or disability. 23. IG Section 108 is amended to 24, read as follows. 25. 725. Discharges on account of death. Loans discharged. A loan is described in this subparagraph if such loan is a student loan. I, in the case of an individual. Gross income does not include any amount which would be includable in gross income for such taxable year rear by the discharge of any loan described in subparagraph. If such discharge was pursuant to subsection or of Section 437 of the Higher Education Act of 1965, or the parallel benefit under Part D of Title IV of such act, pursuant to Section 464 of such act, or otherwise discharged on account of death or total and permanent disability of the student. 726. A private education loan of the Consumer 2 Credit Protection Act. Social Security number require 4. I, subparagraph 6 shall not apply with respect to any Dis-7 charge during any taxable year, unless the 8 taxpayer includes on the return of tax for 9 such taxable year 10. The taxpayer's Social Security 11 number, and 12 if the taxpayer is married, 13 the Social Security number of such 14 taxpayer's spouse. Social Security number 16 for purposes of this subparagraph. The 17-term Social Security number has the 18 meaning given such term in Section 1924. Married individuals. Rules 21, similar to the rules of Section 32, shall 22 apply to this subparagraph. 23. OCS N24T rated as a mathematical Z35. 727. E, Section 6213 is amended by striking 1 and at the end of subparagraph, by striking the 2 period at the end of subparagraph and inserting 3 and by inserting after subparagraph the full foregoing new subparagraph. 5. An omission of a correct social Secu 6 RIDI number required under Section 7108. The amendments made by 10 this section shall apply to discharges after December 31st, 11/2025. Additional tax release will leave 13 American families and workers 14. 10101 no tax tips. 50. DA Part 7 of Subchapter 16B of Chapter 1 is amended by redesignating Section 224.17 as Section 225 and by inserting after Section 223 the full 18 lowing new Section 19. SE Sudra 24 qualified tips. IG. There shall be allowed as a de 21 deduction an amount equal to the qualified tips received der 22ing the taxable year that are included on statements. FER 23 nish to the individual pursuant to section 6041-24. 728. 6041A, 6050W, 6051 are reported by one the taxpayer on Form 4137. In the case of qualifieds received by an individual during any taxable year in the course of any trade, 5 or business of such individual. Such qualified tip shall be 6 taken into account under subsection only to the extent 7 that the gross receipts of the taxpayer from such trade 8 or business for such taxable year exceeds the sum of 10. Cost of goods sold that are allocable to 11 such receipts plus 12. Other expenses, losses, or deductions, 14 which are properly allocable to such receipts. 50. QT for purposes of this Sec 1617. In general, the term qualified tip 18 means any cash tip received by an individual in a 19 occupation which traditionally and customarily read 20 received tips on or before December 31st, 2024, as Pro 21 provided by the Secretary. 22. E. Such term shall not in 23 include any amount received by an individual unless 24. 729. Such amount is paid voluntarily without any consequence in the event of non-payment, is not the subject of negotiation, and is determined by the payer. The trade or business in the course of which the individual receives such amount is not a specified service, trade, or business. Such individual does not receive earned income in excess of the dollar amount in effect under Section 14 for the calendar year in which the taxable year begins, and such other requirements as may be established by the Secretary in regulations or other guidance are satisfied. Such individual's Social Security number and, if the individual is married, the Social Security number of such individual's spouse. 730. Married individuals. Rules similar to the rules of Section 32 shall apply to this section. The Secretary shall prescribe 3 such regulations or other guidance as may be necessary to prevent reclassification of income as qualified tips. In 5, including regulations or other guidance to prevent abuse of 6, the deduction allowed by this section. No deduction shall be allowed 8 under this section for any taxable year beginning after December 31, 2028. DA 11 Section 63 is amended by striking and at the end 12 of paragraph, by striking the period at the end of para 13 graph and inserting and by adding at the end 14 the following new paragraph, 15. The deduction provided in Section 224. OCS 17T rated as M mathematical or CAD. Section 6213, as amended by the pre-19 seating provisions of this Act, is amended by striking 20 and at the end of subparagraph by striking the 21 period at the end of subparagraph and inserting 22 and by inserting after subparagraph the full 23, lowing new subparagraph 24. 731. An omission of a correct Social Secu 1 RIDI number required under Section 224. EFQBI 4, Section 199A is amended by striking in 5 at the end of subparagraph, by striking the period 6 at the end of subparagraph and inserting, and 7 by adding at the end the following new subparagraph, 8. Any amount with respect to which a 9 deduction is allowable to the taxpayer under 10 Section 224 for the taxable year. 11. CCB 13. Section 45B is amend 14 ed to read as follows: 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The providing, delivering, or serving 21 of food or beverages for consumption. If the tip 22 ping of employees delivering or serving food or 23 beverages by customers is customary. Application only to certain lines of In applying paragraph, there shall be taken into account only tips received from customers or clients in connection with the following services. 732. The providing of any of the following services to a customer or client if the tipping of two employed in such services is customary. Barbering and hair care, 4 nail care. 5 aesthetics, body and spa treatments. See Reddit determined with respect to 8 minimum wage in effect. Section 45B9 is amended 10. By striking as in effect on January 1st, 11, 2007, and 12. By inserting, and in the case of food 13 or beverage establishments, as in effect on January 14th, February 1, 2007, after without regard to Section 15(3) of such Act. RR 17. R. Returns for payments made in the 18 course of a trade or business. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. As statement furnished to SEC. Section 6041 is amended by inserting, including a separate accounting of any such amounts properly designated as tips, and whether such tips are received in an OQ. 733. Statement furnished to payee. Section 6041 is amended by striking, and at the end of paragraph, by striking the period at the end of paragraph and inserting and by inserting after paragraph the following new paragraph. In the case of compensation to non-employees, the portion of payments that have been properly designated as tips and whether such tips are received in an occupation described in Section 224. Returns for payments made for services and direct sales. As statement furnished to SEC. Section 6041A is amended by inserting after amount of such payments. Statement furnished to payee. Section 6041A is amended by striking at the end of paragraph, by striking the P. 734. Riot at the end of paragraph and inserting, and by inserting after paragraph the following new paragraph. The portion of payments that have been properly designated as tips and whether such tips are received in an occupation described in Section 224. Returns relating to third-party settlement organizations. As statement furnished to SEC. Section 6050W is amended by striking and at the end of paragraph, by striking the period at the end of paragraph and inserting and by adding at the end the following new paragraph. In the case of a third-party settlement organization, the portion of reportable payment transactions that have been properly designated by payers as tips, and whether such tips are received in an occupation described in Section 224. Statement furnished to payee. Section 6050W is amended by inserting, including a separate accounting of any such amounts that have been properly designated by payers as tips, and whether such tips are 735. Received in an occupation described in Section 1224, after reportable payment trans 2 actions. R. Returns related to wages. Section 46051 is amended by striking, and at the end of 5 paragraph, by striking the period at the end of 6 paragraph and inserting and by insert 7ing after paragraph the following new para 8 graph. 9. The total amount of tips reported the 10 employee under Section 6053. CA. The table of sections 12 for Part 7 of Subchapter B of Chapter 1 is amended by 13, redesignating the item relating to Section 224 as relating 14 to Section 225, and by inserting after the item relating to 15 Section 223, the following new item. 16 Sec 224 Qualified Tips. Not later than 90 days after the 18 date of the enactment of this Act, the Secretary of the 19 Treasury shall publish a list 20 of occupations which traditionally and customarily re-21 receive tips on or before December 31st, 2024 for purposes 22 of Section 224. 23. The Secretary of the Treasury 24 shall modify the tables in 25.
Welcome to Executive Order Watch.
The immigrants have arrived.
I know. I have the package.